Today on This Old House,
we have a quick fix for a yard that's been trampled by construction.
And the answer is clover. We start installing our solution for heating, cooling, and hot water for our building.
And we install screens the old-fashioned way. What happened to all this plumbing here?
I've never seen anything like this before. There's already rot going on in that trunk.
So what have you found up here?
Well, a bit of a surprise.
It's really the classic plumber's lament.
See this main roof form? We're just going to pull that forward so it's even where this existing deck is.
Definitely says mid-century modern.
Money's in the details.
That is beautiful. Hi there, I'm Kevin O'Connor, and welcome back to This Old House and to our project here in Jamestown, Rhode Island. As you can see, it is a busy job site as we frantically try to finish our net zero home. Now, with any project, our goal is home improvement, but unfortunately, the site often gets pretty beat up. There are bobcats and backhoes, there are cranes and excavators on this site all of the time. On the dry days, it gets turned to dust, and on the wet days, it gets turned to mud. And believe it or not, Roger has to make all of this look beautiful in just a couple weeks, including a beautiful lawn. Fortunately, he's got a shortcut. Hey, Roger, Jen, Pat, good to see you again.
Good seeing you, Kevin.
Hey, Kevin.
So, Roger, your favorite quick fix is sod,
That's right.
Just gets the job done for us.
Well, you got to remember, everyone promises to take care of the grass during the construction's going on. So much for that, everything gets trampled. And that's what's happened at our Jamestown project. So what we want to do is sod it.
Just have the sod roll out like the big green carpet. There's nothing better.
That's right.
Well, we've been rolling it out for years, thanks to you, Pat, although I have never been to the farm to see where it comes from. This place is massive.
This is a 526-acre farm, largest contiguous acre farm in Rhode Island.
Yeah.
Before it was a sod farm, years it was growing potatoes here.
No kid. So fertile ground beneath us?
Yes, 2-3 feet of loam in some spots.
A smile on these guys' faces.
Like it rocks, right?
Seriously.
All right, so good growing conditions, and now for sod primarily.
Yes. For 28 years, we were predominantly a bluegrass farm. Then we realized we had to change things, and we got into more environmentally friendly grasses, and we started growing Black Beauty in 2010, and now we're into this microclover Black Beauty.
Tell your customers that it's going to use less water, less pesticides.
So we've told that story before, the Black Beauty that you're talking about, that first iteration. How much less water?
That one took 30 to 50% less water and fertilizer. This grass, no fertilizer, no pesticides, minimal watering. We're in the middle of a hot season here.
That's what every client asks for these days.
But
every client.
Every landscaper wants some work. You still have to mow it.
Well, but, I mean, how is that possible? We've been growing grass forever. We need water, we need fertilizer. Now you're telling us we don't need any of it? What's going on?
It's the microclover itself. It's a natural nitrogen fixation, so it gives the grass the nitrogen it needs to feed. It's drought tolerant, shade tolerant.
You can't ask for much more.
Right.
When you say microclover, though, I mean, we do have to appreciate the fact that it is not just a sea of blades of grass, that we've got clover in here, and quite a bit of clover right now.
Right. What had happened is, with the drought and whatnot, we find that the clover becomes more predominant. When we get more rain, the clover seems to recede a little bit. And you'll notice that it'll change over as the season changes. In the spring, you hardly see the clover. Come winter, you won't see it at all. It's all going down into the canopy.
There is a little education that goes along with this new type of seed, so you have to let people know that these aren't weeds, these are things we're growing here.
To me, that is the trick. As I look out over this field, I think I'm looking at grass because I'm programmed. It's green, it's consistent, it's a monoculture. I don't even see the clover from a distance.
No, you don't, and that's the beauty of it. It stays green. Again, we have only watered this field twice during the summer of a drought in high heat.
That's incredible.
Yeah. So what do you think, Jen? Are you coming on
I'm
board?
I'm going to try it.
You're going to try it?
Absolutely. I have so many clients that ask for this.
All right. Well, you're not going to try it until we see the rest of this farm. Can you show some of the operation?
I certainly can.
Let's have a look around.
All right.
So this is a machine that we harvest all our sod with. It has an automatic ski that keeps the machine in place. There's a cutter underneath that cuts the sod, then a chopper that cuts it off every 5 feet. The sod comes up this conveyor, and then it comes up and hits this trip. It gets rolled into a roll. From there, it goes onto the index tray that grabs and puts it on. Once it's on the pallet, it then comes off on the back, and the pallet gets dropped down, and the crew comes along and moves that pallet out of the way. We have 9 different varieties of grasses we're planting, but we're also experimenting with other stuff. And here you can see we've got a garden that is fed by the microclover. This is in order to grow.
Fed by the microclover, which is sort of why we see all of this down around the bed. This is not weeds. This is not hurting the garden.
No, it's not. It's actually feeding the tomatoes.
Looks like it's a darn good job of
And
feeding
it's perfect
them, too.
for the pathways.
I think there's a tomato in here. What is that?
Nope, I got one right here. Can I pick this?
Sure.
Look at that beauty right there, huh?
It is gorgeous.
Huh, you like?
Did you say organic?
Yes, I did.
Mind?
Absolutely.
Look at you.
Pretty good.
Enough with the vegetables. I'm concerned about the sod. We got a job for you to do in a very short time. You're going to be able to get us some sod?
We certainly can, Roger.
We appreciate it. We'll take some of the tomatoes.
This is amazing. The flavor's great.
Thank you, Pat. Always good to see you.
Thanks.
Thank you for
You
coming.
want a bite?
I guess, if that's what we're doing.
It's delicious.
We've talked about all the different components of a net zero house, the super insulation inside the building, the fresh air. We've talked about solar, photovoltaics to make electricity from the sun so we could actually spin that meter backwards. And a couple of weeks ago, we started talking about the super efficient heat pumps that are available now to be able to heat and cool this building. Well, today, the rubber meets the road. Our new HVAC equipment is on site. So out back here, behind the barn, is the outdoor unit that's going to provide all the heating and cooling for the entire main house. It's up on a stand, and it's got all the components that we talked about a couple of weeks ago when we talked about efficient heat pumps. Remember we talked about a compressor. When you compress a gas, it gets hotter. Now this compressor is constantly changing its speed just right. We talked about an expansion valve, that when we let a refrigerant release and get to a larger space, it gets really cold. So all those components are happening inside right here. What we've talked about to this point has always been a thing called a heat pump. And with a heat pump or an air conditioning condenser that everybody else has, there's always 2 lines, or really a hot one and a cold one. And if it's in cooling mode, the refrigerant goes one way into the building. If it's in heating mode, the refrigerant reverses through this expansion valve up here. So this looks like a heat pump, but it isn't. It's actually called a heat recovery unit, which means it has a third pipe. And that third pipe will be hot, cold, and return. And that means that this unit could simultaneously heat and cool this building. That means on the south side, you could be cooling, and on the north side, you could be heating. And that makes all the difference. These 3 lines come down into the ground and run this way in a trench into the building. Down here in the old basement of the main house, you can see our 3 lines coming in from our outdoor condenser right here. And they come into this box and this is a really smart zoning box. Now we can have up to 12 individual zones in any building. In our case, we're only going to have 5. And you know, when you think about these types of systems, they were always called variable refrigerant flow. And the unit choices will always look like this. And these things work fine, but many people don't want to see them. What's happened with this industry is there's been ways to now deliver that comfort invisibly. So now, off of this first set of ports right here, there's a series of ports. We'll have a set of refrigerant lines that go over to an air handler right here for the first floor. Now that will be much like a conventional furnace, but there's no burner inside. There's just a really smart heating and cooling coil that'll work off of here. And you can see the duct delivering it to the first floor invisibly. Off the other ports, we're going to go to the second floor. On the second floor, there'll be 2 really small air handlers. And those small air handlers, one will be on the south side, one will be on the north side. We'll be able to have individual zones on the top floor. Now, this is where the system really shines, because now if the sun is shining on the top floor, meaning needing air conditioning up there, and now that when you air condition, you bring back heat that the sun put into the building. It comes down to this very smart box, and the box is smart enough to decide, do I take that heat and send it outside, or do I keep it in the building and use it and go over to the north side air handlers if I need to? And that's so brilliant. So we've got 3 air handlers so far. We've also got one more that is really cool, pun intended. Nick Restivo and his gang helped us with the HVAC installation. So here's the unit for this basement area. You can see it's an evaporator unit that's going to heat and cool this room. A set of refrigerant lines right here, a condensate drain, and an electrical line right here. So there's a second unit that mounts on top of it. Okay, so you might say that's not beautiful. Well, this is. Here is a picture frame that'll mount right on there. I'll hold this, Nick, once you get it. Come on in. You're just tall enough for it, Nick. Perfect. So look at that. So you can actually change this picture to anything you want. So with this system, we'll have a single box outside with enough power to heat the building on the coldest day, to cool the building on the hottest day. We can have individual zones inside, and we can simultaneously heat and cool. But there's one more thing it can do. It can take that same heat that we've gathered and moved around, and also use it to go to one step, being one magic box outside that is perfect for a net zero house.
Hey, Josh.
Hey, Jeff. How are you today?
Good. So this is the unit we talked about, huh?
Yep. This is the new clean face model. It's a 7565 direct vent, high efficiency gas fireplace. So as you can see, it's got a clean face design. These controls will get hidden in a concealed compartment, so you won't see any of that. You're just going to see a floating screen of fire with the meteor of your choice.
All right, so we have this chase set up for you. Hopefully it's framed correctly for you.
Yep, Jeff, we just put a measuring tape on it. I measured everything out. It looks great. So this will slide right in.
Yeah.
And then we'll be able to vent from here to outside, which is called our direct vent. It's a concentric pipe. So the center is exhaust, the outside is air intake into the fireplace.
Nice.
Doesn't take any air from the house at all. So Jeff, one of the benefits with putting a TV close to a fireplace is having a fireplace that has the built-in heat release system. We will have a heat release duct somewhere. This is a plenum that will vent inside of the chase that you built for us. And then we will have gravity louvers to vent any heat inside this chase, out of this chase, in the house.
Right.
Allowing you to put a TV or a picture
Down
closer to the...
Oh, nice.
And this is a good, efficient heater as well as a showpiece with the flames.
Great. Let's get it going. All right, looks great, Josh. We're going to install 5/8 drywall on here, and then all 3 sides get shiplap floor to ceiling.
That's going to look really nice.
Thanks a lot, Josh.
Thank you.
On this side of the house, the plans call for a screened-in porch. Now, it's a wood-frame porch, and now we have to attach the screens the old-fashioned way. We're actually going to attach it on wood fillers.
So we're going to use regular fiberglass screen. We got roll black here, and we've got a 5-foot roll. So that's going to cover the width of all.
It's pretty cool the way Jeff framed this here. What we have is we have a 2x4, we have an 1 3/4 filler, and another 2x4. On this side here, that there is, you can see a 2x4 sticking out, which creates a dado right there for this piece to slide into. Let me show you on a mock-up that we have right here. So here are the 2x4s, the 3 2x4s, 1, 2, 3, an 1.75" filler that creates that dado right there. The piece that we're going to attach the screening to will be stapled on the back, and then we slide this rabbited cut that we made into that dado and screw the screens into this stop right here. And that will hold the screens into the opening. All right, Jeff, we ready to get started?
Yeah.
All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this piece right here out, and we're going to attach the screen to the back of this. Now we'll have one piece of screen wire, and we'll take it and slide it into the opening with the screening wire on it and screw this off. After that's screwed in place, we'll take it across the opening and stretch it tight. Okay, so we're going to lay the screen on this piece of plywood as our table. And we're going to run it out. Now I've taken the stop that we have on the side, going in the corner, and we're going to take it and lay it out under the screen, just like that. Now we want to extend the screening wire out about 3 or 4 inches taller at the top and about 3 or 4 inches longer at the bottom, and then cut the screen off square. So that's pretty even with the plywood right there, Jeff. Now we'll just cut that off, trying to make it an eyeball square. In other words, you want to try to cut it as straight as you can. Okay, so now just pull that screen down to you a little, Jeff. Okay, now we take our stop and we'll slide it underneath. And let it stick out about 1/2 inch beyond the edge here. And staple it all the way down. Alright, so now that the screen is stapled to this piece right here, when we go to put it into that dado, we will take and fold this over and we'll make it go into that dado nice and tight. So we'll do that as we put it in place. So let's stand it up. So now we're going to take this piece, I'm going to lay it in, I'm going to put it against the stop, slide it over. You can see how the screening wire bent out. I push it in and it folds right over, and that's locked in place. Now I'll just put some screws in it. So now we're just going to pull the screening wire across the opening and push this stop against, just like that, yeah. Now as we push it in, I'm holding this with my hand, but I'm also letting it go, still keeping tension on it so that this part of the screen gets tight. Okay, so now it's ready to go in. I'm going to push this into the dado. Now that that's in, I'll put one screw right here. Okay, now I'm going to work my way down. I'm just going to start at the top, and we're going to just pull it across, adding a little more tension and forcing my stop into the rabbet, and put another screw in there.
So we're going to put the top in same way we did the sides, and that rabbet tucks the screen in and creates that tension in the screen.
Now we're ready to put this bottom piece on. We want to be able to take these wrinkles out by stretching the screen down. So we're going to do it the same way. We're going to take our rabbited piece, lay it in, push it in at an angle, drive it in like that, and tap it in with our hammer. You gotta tap it in. Nice. Now the nice thing about screwing these pieces on, Jeff, if the screen ever gets damaged, remove the screws, put a new piece in. Yep. Okay, now we just cut off this excess using our utility knife.
Jamestown pays great attention to water usage during the summer, often restricting outside watering. But Dana and Dawn have a brand new landscape plan going in here, and they need water. So they drilled a well, and they were down about 400 feet. And guess what? They got just about no water coming out of it. Paul Turner and his crew are helping us today.
Hey, Richard, how are you today?
So what do you do when you don't get any water out of a well, or hardly any water out of a well?
Well, what you do is you develop the well.
Okay, but what does that mean?
Well, what we do is we pump high-pressure water down the hole so we can flush out the existing fractures that are there so the water can come into the well unrestricted. How much water you're going to get is going to depend on what's there in the aquifer and in the fractures.
Okay. All right. What do we got?
Well, Richard, we have an expandable bladder here, which is going to inflate inside the hole. And when we inflate it, it's going to enable us to pump high-pressure water down the well so the water doesn't come over the top. It actually goes down through into the well.
we have a 400-foot deep, 6-inch hole. You're going to put a cork in it and then push water in below the cork.
That's correct. This is what we call our tree. This is what's going to connect the truck to the pipes that are going down the hole.
That's how you'll pressurize the hole below the stopper, below the bladder.
Exactly. All right, we're at 1,000, 1,500, we're at 2,000, and we'll pressurize that to approximately 2,500 PSI. And that's what we have to pressurize that to hold it in the hole.
We're also monitoring our packer pressure, and we're also monitoring our hydraulic pressure so we don't exceed its limit. What's the rumble right there?
The rumble is just a vibration of the pumps.
All right, so we've done 2 sets. We've pushed, what, like 3,000 gallons down underneath. How do you think we've done?
Look real good. The telltales look awesome. But you never really know until you put a pump in the well.
Okay, and that's next.
Next.
From the wellhead, they dug a trench, and that's going to carry both the well pipe and the wire to control the pump to the back of our barn, to this tank right here. This is a well tank. Any well system has some sort of tank. It helps to reduce the amount of on-off cycles for the pump. But our pump is so smart, it'll come on so precisely according to what the load is, that this tank can be a lot smaller than conventional. And it's controlled by this panel right here. Now this is an irrigation system, so we can actually put the tank outside right here. And this will be winterized in the fall, so it won't freeze. Now it's time to see how we did. Jeff, how you doing?
Hey, Richard, good?
How'd our well do?
Good, we got a little over 4 gallons a minute.
All right, so we started at, what, half a gallon?
Yep.
So that's what, that 700 or 800% improvement? That's pretty good. Is that enough for our irrigation system?
Well, we got 400 feet of casing, too, so at 1.5 gallons per foot, we've got enough to be able to cycle the zones in correctly.
So we're going to be fine. We'll be good. Good. So I'm excited. Next week, we're actually going to start with a solar installation up on the roof here. That's going to be fun.
All right, and I'm going to be working on some creative ways to dress up the underside of that porch.
All right. So until next time, I'm Rich Trithui.
And I'm Jeff Sweener.
For This Old House. So I didn't think they'd ever get done building that thing.
Next time on This Old House.
Our solar panels start generating electricity today. So when the sun is out, we can make electricity. It's a pretty cool miracle.
It's a mad scramble to get this entire landscape installed.
And our homeowners get an introduction to induction.
This is the most energy efficient option.
All right. I thought maybe you bought it because it came with a shaft.
We wish that it did.